will Imran Khan return as Prime Minister? It is still overwhelming. 95%, 95%, 86% say yes. So far we haven't got Imran. Imran, here's my credentials. You know me well. Here's my Hilal-e-Qaid-e-Azam. Get your people to get on the line, please. If you want to call the show, 0808 death that you describe, and because it is a fate worse than death, then it raises the spectre which caused the original Westminster Magistrates Court decision not to send Julian Assange to the United States. It raises that whole spectre of self-harm, of suicide all over again. 59,000 people have voted on our poll. Will Imran Khan return as Prime Minister? It is still overwhelming. 95%, 95%, 86% say yes. So far we haven't got Imran. Imran, here's my credentials. You know me well. Here's my Hilal-e-Qaid-e-Azam. Get your people to get on the line, please. If you want to call the show, 08081 965522. And if you're in America or Canada, +1 844 944 3344. Let's go to Hamza in the great city of Liverpool. Go ahead, Hamza.
Hi, George. How are you today?
By the grace of God, George. Good. Thanks. What would you like to say? Yeah.
George, I just want to say, I'm a father of four. First of all, I want to talk about intensity of the subject, what you have chosen today. Yeah, to talk to Pti Imran Khan. He's still our Prime Minister, first of all. Yeah, let me say that. Yeah, from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, I love all those comments which you were talking about, but I wish you would have focused only and only on Pti Imran Khan today, because I just take my voice as a millions of those people's voice, right? Because I haven't come across to a single person in the last 3 years who does not support Imran Khan. And you know, this is all so fake what's going on in Pakistan right now, with the favor of all these corrupt politicians and this. I don't want to say that because we, as a Pakistan, we love even British Pakistan, but we still love our Pakistan army. But you know what? We are forced to say there is some kind of hidden influences in there, in between. It's there. So people have to see that. And before people have to see, those people who are sitting on those influential places, they need to realize and come up with the real democracy, where the people really are. I'm a father of four, and I wish right now, you know what? I heard you last 1 hour, and I heard you many times before. I'm one of your subscribers, by the way. Yeah, I love you. I love to listen to you. And I would have given to you all my wages, you know, just by choosing this subject of Pti Imran Khan. Yeah, this is how much we love him. People will, because he talks about humanity. You know, one of your, participants today said that it's not about anybody. It's about the people who stand for humanity. Imran Khan is somebody who stands for humanity, George. You know, that's why we follow him. I am somebody also, like Kessa was saying, that my father, mother, my sisters in Pakistan, they are from PMLN, you know, the Nawaz Sharif who's sitting in Mayfair right now, in London. You know, I wish somebody could really take justice, on the merit in this country also, to find out where they're getting all their wealth from. You know, people like us who left our countries and come to these countries to work here and to make our dreams come true. For once, we thought that maybe we could go back to Pakistan. But you know what? Now, I don't know, this regime or this corrupt politician or Pakistan army, whoever, but they have killed our dreams to go back to Pakistan. They have killed our dreams, George. You know, I am somebody who's here from 2002. I've been issued second British passport, and I love Britain. You know why? Because at least today I want to talk to George, and I can talk to George. But in Pakistan, you can't do that. That's the thing. That's the thing, that because the Prime Minister Imran Khan, and you know, all the people who work for less than $10 a day, you know, they're thinking that their voice will be heard. Their voices will be heard. But you know what?
Your passion is unmistakable. You moved me, Hamza, but there's a lot of people trying to get through, so I need to close you now. Your passion is unmistakable. It's shared by me and by the vast majority. I'm absolutely sure of it in Pakistan. If the elections, which must be held now, are free and fair, Imran Khan will sweep the country. He will definitely win a 2/3 majority. Of that, I'm absolutely sure. And the people are on the march. I don't think they will be turned back. I don't think the ordinary soldiers in the army will be prepared to fire upon them, to turn them back. And so when they reach Islamabad, if they are in sufficient numbers and backed and supported around the world by sufficient numbers, then I believe the people's will triumph. Let's hear from Akhtar in Manchester. Go ahead, Akhtar.
Oh, hello, George. Nice talking to you, to be very honest. I listened to your shows, and it's been really amazing. I would like to say thank you very much for you. You have, to be very honest, very great eyes on Pakistani politics. And, this is what we actually think made us shameful being a Pakistani when such kind of politicians, idiots, I'm sorry, but I must say these are idiots. When they say they are beggars, I mean, like, how you can say you are the beggar? Being a nation of Pakistani, I belong to Pakistan, I feel really shame when such a people, those are actually a beggar. They have escaped, they have everything, as you already explained about them, already explained about the politics of Pakistan. Lastly, I would like to say, those criminals comes to the Europe, particularly in Britain, and live over here. What kind of action should we need to take to send them back, where they belong from?
It's a very good point. Akhtar, I wish I had an answer to that. I passed one of Nawaz Sharif's sumptuous Mayfair properties just the other day. I was on my way, I better not say where, I don't want to encourage anyone to visit the property, but sumptuous it was, and guarded by private security it was, in numbers, because these ill-gotten gains came from you. They talk about foreign funding for Imran. My goodness. These politicians, who should be all sitting with the electronic tags around their ankles, weren't foreign funded. They looted Pakistan to fund themselves. They looted you and your family back home. They stole your money. They didn't get it from anywhere else. They allowed everywhere else to tell them what to do in exchange for a license to rob you, a license to rob Pakistan. That's the caliber of people that the United States has now put in power in Pakistan. Let's go to Lena in Birmingham on the same subject. Go ahead, Lena.
Okay, thank you for having me. So my question is quite straightforward. So if Imran Khan does return as Prime Minister, just looking forward, do you believe the USA will in turn try and freeze assets or impose sanctions, just as it has done in neighbouring Afghanistan, and this would be in response to not adhering to what the USA basically want? It's done that in Afghanistan. It's frozen their assets just because they wanted their own Islamic style of government.
Well, my view on that, Lena, is that wealthy people in Eastern countries would be well advised to repatriate whatever property values they have to the East, because if you don't agree to be a slave, the danger exists, as you say, of your property and its value being frozen, stolen, and maybe never given back. So it's high time that people in countries like Pakistan repatriated their wealth back to Pakistan. That's from where it came, and it should be used to invest and grow Pakistan, to grow the economy, to grow the society, to grow the culture and greatness of Pakistan. I think that Pakistan's future lies in the East, not in the West. Most Americans have no idea about Pakistan, where it is even, how it runs, how it functions, how it came to be. They know nothing, care less than nothing about the lives of ordinary people in Pakistan. They want to use Pakistan, that's all, in geostrategic affairs. Use it against the then Soviet Union in Afghanistan. Use it now against China. Use it against Russia. Use it for their own selfish interests. Pakistan's best interests lie in the East, in bolting itself on to the great Eurasian future, which I promise you, you sound like a young woman, I promise you, for the rest of your life, will be growing and leaving the West far behind in its trail. Let me take a very quick break. Stay tuned. Big thanks, obviously, to all our subscribers and listeners to the MOATS podcast. For the older amongst you, a podcast is the distilled version, about half as long as the 3-hour mother of all talk shows, which has become a phenomenon on the internet. And also my new Wednesday show, the Galloway show, which I hope you'll tune into on my YouTube channel, exclusively on YouTube on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That's also got a podcast, which has also gone off like a rocket. Now, you get them on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But in recent weeks, the podcast has been the #1 political podcast in Algeria, Ghana, Oman, Namibia, Ecuador, Slovenia, Zimbabwe, Malaysia, Bulgaria, Iceland, Kuwait, Costa Rica, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Tanzania, and now in Singapore, #1 in those countries. The podcast's also a regular in the top 50 of China, please note, Russia, France, Spain, India, Israel, Brazil, Pakistan, Canada, Hong Kong, and Japan, as well as being active in 79 other top 100s around the world. So it's a media phenomenon, and it's tearing up the mainstream media monopoly. Please download it on Apple or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review, like Sanam in London, who said, "George, I've been watching your show for a long time, and I must admit that you are a true leader and very courageous man to carry on your work of exposing the truth and showing us the other side of the picture, which always gets blocked by the US and the West through their media. God bless you always." Sanam in London. Very touching, Sanam. Thank you very much for that.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
Well, the first poll is about to close. The previous record poll ever was 10,000 votes. This one is 59,200 votes. And overwhelmingly, the people have voted for Imran Khan. They're voting for elections now. They're voting against the imported government of crooks that the United States has imposed upon their people, imposed upon their country. We've got Gonzalo Lira coming up very shortly, but let me take a call from California. Who wouldn't want to go to California? Keith is there. Keith, what would you like to say?
Hey, George. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. This is just basically the problem I have with this whole the Ukrainian situation with the Russian invasion, or whatever name you'd like to put on it. Me personally, I see this as Russian imperialism, and I am an anti-imperialist myself, and I don't understand how it's not viewed as imperialism on Russia's side. And I specifically called, you had Caleb Maupin on here, and I just, that's my whole basic point, is you've got these Ukrainian folks, we got 44 million people there, how many actual Nazis are there, how much of this is real? Very similar to the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So what's your take on that?
Well, you're very welcome, Keith. You're putting a view I profoundly disagree with, but that's what this show is about. It's a university, after all. We mustn't have a monoculture or a monotone in a university. I could not actually disagree with you more. This is a war between NATO and Russia, and of the two parties, it's NATO that is the collection of imperialist countries. We could have a long Leninist discussion on the definition of imperialism, but I prefer to say that like the camel, it might be harder to define than it is to recognize. The United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the other NATO countries have launched imperialist war around the globe for 60 years. It would be testing credulity to imagine that they've suddenly changed their spots, to mix the animal metaphor, when it comes to Ukraine. Now, actually, Western Ukraine is a heavily Nazified society. It always has been. And if you knew about Ukraine, as I know about it, and if you don't, I suggest you watch on Netflix, big thing in California, the Netflix documentary made by French television called Einsatzgruppen. Einsatzgruppen. Hitler's executioners in Western Ukraine, motivated by Nazi ideology. The Western Ukrainian political class and their street thugs massacred in cold blood more than 1.5 million people, most of them Jews, but not all of them Jews. Many were Polish Jews. Many were Ukrainian Jews. They fell upon them like beasts. And that mentality has never dissipated. In fact, the United States, as a matter of policy, the documents are there if you want to research them, identified and fastened onto these fascist elements as a potential asset that the United States could use to cause difficulties and division inside the former USSR. In 2004, the first attempt to build a political power around these ultra-nationalist and even fascist and Nazi elements was attempted, and in 2014 the process was completed. A military coup overthrew the elected government in Kiev. It was the American military that engineered the coup. It was the American plenipotentiary, Victoria Nuland, who orchestrated the coup. It overthrew the elected president of Ukraine, sent him running for his life. It burned down the parliament building in Kiev. It ordered the deputies at gunpoint to sign a raft of anti-Russian national and Russian language laws. So don't tell me that you see no Nazis, because that means you're turning a Nelson's eye to the Nazis. You can see their swastikas if you want to. You can see their SS insignia if you want to. You can hear their jackboots marching if you want to. But that's not the only reason to oppose this war. This war is not an imperialist war because Russia is not strong enough to be an imperialist country. Russia gave up its empire and was cheered in the West for doing so. But what Russia will not allow is the empire of socialism. I suspect, Keith, that you already knew all of that, unless you are one of the useful idiots that have been pink-washed or idiot-walked into the ranks of the imperialists themselves. Goodbye, Keith, in California. Coming up in the next hour is a man who knows about what's really happening in Ukraine. It's Gonzalo Lira. And we've got Mark Seddon, the legendary Labour man, former United Nations man, on Partygate, Boris Johnson, and the local elections coming up in Britain. Maybe he's also got a point of view on little Macron, the newly re-elected Emperor of France. Thanks to the 60,000 plus people who voted on our poll. Imran Khan's definitely coming back as Prime Minister if we have got anything to do with it. Don't forget to donate and call the show, especially if you disagree with me. After the news with Elliot King, I'll be back with the final hour.
Voting has just closed in the French presidential election, with exit polls predicting a shock result. And I can tell you that the far-right Marine Le Pen has been narrowly defeated by incumbent Emmanuel Macron. French voters were faced with two very different visions for their country during Sunday's presidential runoff election, as the centrist President Macron sought to fend off a challenge from Le Pen. Macron pitched a vision of a globalised France at the head of a strong European Union. Le Pen put forward an economical, nationalist, more inward-looking platform that would represent a fundamental shift from the direction France has since taken since the Second World War. This was a rematch of the 2017 contest where Macron bested Le Pen by nearly 2-1. This one is predicted to be much closer. Macron's attempt at diplomacy over the war in Ukraine took him away from the campaign trail, while Le Pen was forced to backtrack on her previous support for President Vladimir Putin. She has long been a vocal admirer of the Russian president, even visiting him during her 2017 campaign, and her party took out a loan from a Czech-Russian bank several years ago. Le Pen put herself in a strong position by focusing on cost of living issues, veering away from the typical far-right platform focused on immigration, security and identity that dominated her 2017 campaign. However, she did not abandon some of her most controversial